In this episode of the Flick Lab International Film Podcast, the two media pros, Kari and Henrik, clung their teeth into Jurassic Park/World franchise as a whole and asked the question, why do the Jurassic movies no longer hold the same appeal? Or in other words, what went wrong in these movies? Or, if we should be so blunt, why do the Jurassic movies suck? More on that after this intro.
I wanted it to be put on the official record that I did not want to be here today.
We are a glutton for punishment.
This most definitely feels like a punishment.
Welcome to the Flick Lab.
Yeah.
I'm Karri. I have the title of a media assistant. Henrik is my co-host. He studies in the University of Lapland, will be a Master of Arts someday, lives in the Lapland as it happens, and we're both from Finland. I'm currently working in the IT in the Philippines. We're probably the only international cinema podcast made in Finland. We're happy that you're here, dear listener. We have decided to watch a lot of bad films, Henrik. The last time we changed the format a little bit in this podcast, that's when we discussed the Jurassic Park/the World franchise. And now we're back. We're going to touch a little bit on Dominion, but like I said, we're going to stick on this main question here. What the hell happened to Jurassic movies?
And it's kind of simple question to answer, because the answer is nothing, actually.
All right.
The remarkable thing here is exactly how little actually happened to Jurassic movies at any given point. The main focus here, of course, is going to be Jurassic World Dominion, the long-awaited 45 years in the making sequel to the previous low-cost movie masterpiece, Exorcist II, The Heretic. Now with even bigger low-costs.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the better movie, but I found quite a bit of different points that we could discuss around the entire franchise. As I said, I'm a glutton for punishment, and I did rewatch all the films in the franchise. It's not all bad, but mostly it's pretty bad. Anything where you want to start this from?
Well, if we start with the main question here, kind of already, like what changed in Jurassic movies?
Maybe if I'll start with the family aspect of these films, because the first original movie, it was strongly about dinosaurs, not only dinosaurs but family aspect, which is somehow really important, almost like an obsessive compulsive story element for Spielberg. Somehow it's not a Spielberg movie if you don't have the family aspect, for whatever reason. Being Jewish is not a reason, but it seems to me that he thinks that there is no proper story without the family aspect. It's like you can't have interesting and engaging characters without family, kids, and breeding, really. He probably thinks that's the easiest way to put together like an engaging story, like the easiest way to put together an engaging story and sympathetic characters. It's also something that you can easily write in your script for those transition scenes. For the first movie, all of the dancing, it seems to work really well. It doesn't always work in the first film. It's far from a perfect movie. Like, for example, the inciting incident, it takes about an hour before it shows itself. Though, understandable, Jurassic Park has a lot of exposition shit to do. It's about an hour mark when Nedry tries to deliver the samples, but until that moment, we've been looking at empty cages of dinosaurs and investigating dinosaur turd. It has nothing more for you to show except the kind of impressive dinosaur puppet. So a lot of time is just taken to show off with the dinosaur tech. What does the family mean for our new characters? For example, Owen and Claire. No idea.
Oh, well, the kind of the same thing they meant in the original Jurassic Park.
Kind of, but it's like a lackluster edition. They try the character development where she doesn't know how to approach the kids. Then she starts caring about them later. But it comes off as like she doesn't know how to approach them and she doesn't care about them. And then the script kind of doubles down on that, really, because the kids, they are seeking actively for a shelter from the Alpha Man, played by Chris Pratt, instead of from Claire. So that's kind of interesting.
That's kind of the only difference between Jurassic World 1 and Jurassic Park. Like the core conceit, once again, is remarkably samey. You have a character who does not want kids and tries to actively ignore them and avoid spending time with them, only for the brats to get into a danger, after which the uninterested parental figure starts to worry about them and seeks ways to spend time with them, and at the end of the day, he or she just accepts that kids are okay and there is something in the family unit.
Yeah, there is that, but, well, if we think about Claire as a character, there's just no reconciling the bad sides of Claire. Claire, to me, is kind of the villain of the films, because she is established as somebody who truly doesn't care about kids, and when they're trying to turn it on its head, kind of, we are supposed to, as an audience, to understand that this character is gonna turn around and she has a good side, blah blah blah, but the kids even don't agree with that. And Claire is just, left on the sidelines, and I never truly buy that she turns into such of a moral and nice character because she's all about business, and then suddenly, not so much. And she makes an organization to protect the dinosaurs.
Yeah, so with Claire, they take Grant from the original one and they split him into two. They take the whole character finds a way to be with kids angle, they throw out the action guy hero stuff and put that on Chris Pratt, and instead they take Hammond from the first one and, fuse that with I don't wanna be with kids side, and therefore you have Claire in the end. So Claire basically is a hybrid, half Grant, half Hammond, and in both cases the character finds a way to actually accept and be with kids through kids that are not actually his own.
Yeah, but there is something about the character development that we can discuss later on. It just doesn't work anywhere near as well as in the first one. And kind of like I've been saying, I still don't think that Jurassic Park is in any way a perfect movie, but it does have much more things to discuss than the later sequels. Some of them don't have anything to say about anything. But
well, basically, the sequels don't have anything to say about anything.
Yeah, pretty much. One of the good things about the first Jurassic Park is, for example, the moral questions. Like, they are there kind of strongly. The first Jurassic Park is asking the question, should we? Should we do the Jurassic Park? Should we play God? These are the questions about morality and 65 million years separating humans and dinosaurs. That's interesting. The whole discussion over the dinner with Ian Malcolm, Ellie, Grant, and the pesky lawyer, Hammond, that's kind of almost single-handedly, it's one of the freaking highlights of the series. There's a lot there to unpack. But anyway, maybe we should discuss about the tactile dimension of the film, because there's a whole kind of tactile dimension to Spielberg's direction here. He brings us along to this ride. He wants us to feel like we're part of the action, right? There's this show don't tell moments. Like, why does he use so much time to show Alan Grant how he's figuring out the intricate workings of a belt buckle? Why are people touching things and dinosaurs? And why are dinosaurs sneezing on people? Why is there mud and rain and why are people in it? Why are dinosaurs touching fences, velociraptors appearing from under a plastic sheet, things like that? It's all for that kind of a tactile dimension to kind of make you feel more connected to the environment. But there's even more that makes the first Jurassic Park great, if you want to bear with me here.
Yeah, okay, by all means, go ahead. My
All right.
counter argument is gonna be that Jurassic World, the first one, is going to attempt to do the exact same bloody thing.
It's going to attempt that, that's for sure. The execution might be something to question here. Then there is the awe factor of Jurassic Park. The dinosaurs, they were a new thing. Spielberg made his original film. It was kind of a life-altering cinema experience in a sense that you had never seen anything like that before. You had seen some CGI, but not in this way, and maybe like in showing the natural world this well. To see all those dinosaurs come alive, blah, blah, blah. It was like a neat tightrope dance between the CGI side of things and then the animatronics all coming together. Everybody knows that. Spared no explains. And it feels very visceral. There's this contrast between Hammond and Hammond's employees, which are kind of nonchalant about the whole dinosaurs because they've been exposed to the dinosaurs already. And then there's the visitors side, their sense of awe. The employees are like, we're doing this every day. Kind of the visitors are the audience side. We take their kind of awe into us. Then slowly the awe turns into terror. And of course, I'm not saying that Colin Trevorrow, the director of Jurassic World, the first one, and the Jurassic World 3, and kind of writer of all of them in some capacity, I'm not making the claim that he doesn't understand these things, or that he doesn't understand the Spielberg recipe. I'm kind of saying that he's trying to emulate the Spielberg recipe, but he just cannot do it the same way.
But sticking with the awe of dinosaurs, why then is it that you don't actually feel the awe in, for example, Jurassic World movies? Because once again, like if we take it from the technical side of things, the CGI has only gotten better in these films. The CGI in Jurassic Worlds is leagues above what the CGI was in first Jurassic Park. And just like the original, the first Jurassic Park, also Jurassic World Dominion uses practical dinos as well. So it's also, once again, it's a mishmash. It's a fusion of practical effects and even better CGI.
Well, the reason, Henrik, is that because the first Jurassic Park movie was kind of a lightning in a bottle, right? Like once it's out, it's gone. First it's the ooh, ah, and that's how it always starts. But then you have just, actually kind of like Malcolm says it, all you have left after that is just running and screaming and retconned cloned kids who are not actually cloned, and then giant locusts and things like that. But if you have to keep making these sequels, then, the recipe is not to make beautiful looking dinosaurs simply. Like, I think there's 4 main elements to these movies. Like, first one is the dinosaurs are your antagonists, not your fucking friends. Secondly, humans are their food. Number 3, some of the humans must be kind of likable, but not more likable than the dinos, because the dinos are the main attraction here. And 4, you must have some new philosophic points or some moral questions, and you got a home run, you got a winner.
Well, with that, like even in the first Jurassic Park, only a handful of dinos really were antagonists. You had your T-Rex, which kind of changes. Is she gonna be an antagonist, or is she gonna be the saving Jesus figure of the film? And then you have your Velociraptors, and much in the same way, you kind of have just handful of antagonist dinosaurs in the sequels. Most of the dinos in all Jurassic movies are either harmful and kind of oblivious of your existence, and they just don't care that you are there, or they act downright friendly. And the side of the dinos which act like a threat or act like an antagonist, it pretty much are like the exact same dinos. You may code it into a different name, like Indominus Rex, basically T-Rex, or you can have the Gigantosaurus that you have in Dominion. Basically, it's just a T-Rex with a different nose. Or you can have whatever it was in Jurassic Park 3,
Yeah.
basically a T-Rex with a different nose. And then you have some raptor shit here.
Okay, what I'm going for here is more like the Mr. Handman, Chris Pratt's character. I kind of call him the Handman because of obvious reasons. He tries to kind of humanize and make a humanized connection with the animals. Like in the Spielberg versions, for example, they were just animals doing their animal thing. And there was none of these moments where you would see Velociraptor somehow showing emotional attachment to Chris Pratt's character, and they goddamn overplay in the Jurassic World movies the whole thing.
They kind of do, but at the same time, they still try to make the case that the Velociraptors are still, first and foremost, they are a threat, and at best, they are kind of unreliable friend. Like Pratt's character Owen, basically, yeah, he has that training aspect of with the Velociraptors, but at the same time, all these three movies are tries to argue that the bond that he makes with the Raptors is kind of a lucid one. When he's training the Raptors in Jurassic World, the first one, he acts kind of like, I don't know what's going to happen. I try to be alpha, but it's a really tightrope dance. He opposes the idea of letting the Raptors free to chase the Carnivorous Rex because the Raptors are unreliable and the Raptors turn against the humans. In the Lost Kingdom, the main horror movie villain dinosaur at the second half of the film is basically a raptor. In Dominion, when Blue's kid gets taken, Pratt is like, I don't know how I can even reconcile with Blue over here. But, oh my god, Blue acts hostile against everyone. He gets that some kind of a kata on his hand or something like that. So basically the films, even though they do kind of humanize the Raptors, but they still try to play it like it's a really tightrope dance and the Raptors can turn against you at any moment. And because of that, you should still be kind of afraid of the Raptors.
If I expand on that a little bit more, maybe what is the most heinous about the whole relationship is the first Jurassic World's ending, where it seems that Velociraptors are now making some kind of a deal with Chris Pratt's character that because you have been my master, then alright, I'm going to bite into Rexy and fight the war with you. Or when we have the moment when the battle is over and the Indominus Rex has been beaten, then T-Rex and Velociraptor have a common understanding that, okay, thanks buddy, and we go separate ways.
Yeah, of course they do have the common understanding. They are legacy dinosaurs of the franchise. and that's what this franchise really is about, if about anything. It's about bringing the old dinos, the exact same bloody T-Rex. I mean, it's the same T-Rex from the first Jurassic Park, even.
Yeah.
And they just keep, like, the franchise just keeps on bringing the same dinos with this idea that, you know, because it's the dino from the first one or because it's a similar dino from the first one, there is some type of a real versus fake, original versus artificial aspect to it, and the real and the original can have this joint understanding of what should and what should not be. Even though, when logically looking at it, they are all fake dinos. Every single one of them.
Rexy, T-Rex is there to save the day too many times in the endings of these movies. In Fallen Kingdom, in the first Jurassic World, in The Lost World, in the first Jurassic Park, and is it Dominion as well?
Yeah.
To come back to the whole awe point, I think the awe of these movies is gone. It's gone. There's an interesting point in Jurassic World where Trevor kind of emphasizes the point that audiences are bored with dinosaurs, the point that you made earlier in our discussions. And it's like any other animal now. we're not given a chance of awe or joy or wonder, whatever you want to call it, because Trevor even makes the audience kind of feel almost guilty about feeling awe, because these creatures have now been downgraded into nothing more than like seeing pigs or cows in a zoo, until you have Indominus Rex, you have more teeth and more power, whatever. This kind of a hybrid dinosaur that never existed is now brought to life, and somehow as an audience I'm supposed to care. I suppose some people care more than me. I just get turned off immediately when it's anything like that.
You mean more teeth, or when it's dinosaurs? Because I do remember that when Jurassic World first one came out, people were calling in throws. They were calling Trevorrow's Point stupid, because how on earth can you state that anyone would ever get tired of dinosaurs because they're goddamn dinosaurs? And look at us here today talking about how the awe factor of dinosaurs is kind of gone.
Yeah, for me it always was the problem when you have sort of what I call the fake dinosaurs. I've already talked about it, of course, but it's in Fallen Kingdom where Dr. Wu says something like, "These are not real dinosaurs," and Alan Grant is kind of supporting that statement in Jurassic Park 3. He says something like, "These are theme park monsters, nothing more, nothing less." So the franchise is kind of justifying the use of these fake dinosaurs because they have these dinosaurs that might have been more valid when the films came out, but now the science has updated itself. We have more information about how these creatures looked like, how they behaved, and this is kind of the way out, I see, for these movies to say that, well, these were not real in the first place, so see, these are just theme park monsters. But why not just go then the Michael Crichton way? Because these novels, they state that the dinosaurs are disturbingly close to the real dinosaurs. And then, you could just keep updating the dinosaur models in the movies, in subsequent sequels, when you get more science updates. But
well, the easy answer for that one is because nobody actually wants to see those half bird, half something dinos. Like, goddamn, once the dinos started to get feathers, thanks to modern science and the way how actually we these days understand how dinos looked, they at the same time, they lost a hell of a lot, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, but
the lizard dinosaurs are way cooler than the feather dinos that we have these days. And I do think that I'm not alone in my opinion. So would the Jurassic movies all of a sudden take a turn and start to have more realistic, more modern day science updated dinos? These feather things, I would think that most people would object to that. They kind of have to stay on the reptile territory, is what I'm saying.
I'm all fine kind of with sticking with the legacy designs, but my biggest problem is that when the films double down and then they create actual fake dinosaurs, they cook in the lab some dino that is a mix of 4 or 5 different species. It's basically indestructible Indominus Rex, a dino that never existed. So what are we getting out of this as an audience? The audience is even suggested to be bored with dinosaurs that are real, and the paying audiences apparently need more teeth, as you so eloquently put it before. And I swear that this cannot have been, like, unless Colin Trevorrow is out of his fucking mind, this cannot have been like a meta-narrative in the movie about the movie audiences themselves. Like, that doesn't make any sense to be a meta-narrative, but the movie certainly manages to make it an unintended narrative.
I think that was like Trevorrow's intended meta-narrative of the movie.
Why?
Very strong. Because it's so bloody obvious. Because it's so all over your face. The meta-narrative of basically the film audiences getting tired of dinos. That the original dinos, or the legacy dino design, or whatever you have. Basically what you have had in these films constantly is been an attempt to somehow up the stakes by somehow changing the dinos. Every film in this franchise tries to take the T-Rex somehow to the next level. Either by having more T-Rexes or then having somehow bigger T-Rex with bigger teeth and more teeth.
But what is the logic behind having that kind of a meta narrative? Because the problem here was not that audiences were becoming bored of the dinosaurs. I'm sure that the audiences were becoming tired of shitty dinosaur movies.
Well, I don't know. You said yourself that you're no longer awestruck by the dinos.
Because I said that it's kind of lightning in a bottle. You can't start all over again and have the whole feeling of awe when you get off the jeep and you look at the big dinosaurs that you see for the first time. It was a first time experience. You can't capture that in the sequels.
Yeah, and in that same way, you get tired of dinos. You don't get that
Yeah.
cheap moment anymore. So the films try to accommodate this by having you have, look, it's a dino, but it has even more teeth. And in my opinion, that was what Trevorrow, and that's why Trevorrow tried to have his meta-narrative thing in the first Jurassic World.
Yeah, he definitely did that, but my god. These films just get more and more complicated as we go on, and I think
No, they don't. they get just remarkably more simple as we go on.
I'm referring to the inherent complexity of the Jurassic World Dominion film. Like, it's trying to have so many different plot elements at the same time. It doesn't know what the fuck it's doing anymore.
It tries to have some plot elements. Yeah, but it doesn't really attempt to have anything.
Except shoving as many cool things to the audience's throat in over 2 hours as is possible.
Well, yeah, but then again, that has been kind of the thing with the franchise.
Yeah.
Since bloody always.
You were talking about The Lost World, and just coming back to The Lost World, I kind of miss those days when, you have Steven Spielberg at the helm, and at least The Lost World, it's completely self-aware of how stupid it is. It knows it's going on this forced trajectory, so to speak, into the sequel tropes. I guess it cannot avoid that to a degree. And Spielberg knows this, that this movie is on a kind of an extended borrowed time, OT completely. It's like Spielberg saying something like, well, here's your goddamn sequel, but you audience, must bear the consequences of me doing this. And
well, if that would be the case with Spielberg, then in my opinion, we can raise the question, why the fuck did Spielberg do it in the first place?
Yeah, but that's what the film definitely feels like. But what's kind of smart about that film, at least, is that it uses Ian Malcolm as kind of the telegrapher to the audience that, yes, this is retarded. Malcolm is channeling the audience's thoughts throughout the movie that this is completely stupid. And that's kind of funny, but then further we go into the story, it sort of starts to undermine the whole movie. Like, everybody is a fucking idiot around him, and he's just trying to be the audience voice there to confirm that this is crazy. And the movie then goes ahead with the implausibilities anyways, all of them. And Malcolm is not able to stop any of it. No one listens to him, and no one listens to the audience.
Yeah, and that's why I actually think that Spielberg really did not have this grandiose stance or this understanding of what he was doing. I actually, the more and more I think about Lost World, the more I dread the idea, and the more confident I'm on the idea that Spielberg thought that what he was doing was really smart and really clever, and he was making a film that actually deserved to exist.
Well, I don't know. I think it's a little botched up job. The Lost World, as I understand, the film was put together in a bit of a hurry. The Lost World, the book is the novel is a bit different to the Lost World, the movie.
Yeah, but if those would be warning signs that Spielberg would have been aware of, and things that whereas people would have been aware of the consequences of those warning signs. I do think that, once again, we are talking about Steven Spielberg here. We are talking about a man who can say no to a directing job and still get work in Hollywood. So why would Spielberg all of a sudden say yes if he would know that whatever is gonna come out would be just, a flaming garbage fire?
Well, it wasn't going exactly to plan. I understand that the whole mainland part of the film was even kind of an afterthought and pasted in at the last moments. But I don't know. But anyway, that film kind of sucks. But it still has, I think it still has the best dinos of the franchise up to this day. But Henrik, what are the different storylines that the franchise is able to handle? We discussed that there's maybe 2 or 3 different storylines. Do you want to get into that once more for our listeners?
I can boil it down for you.
Thank you.
It one storyline.
Yeah.
Asshole close dinos in a park-like area, and people go into the park-like area because smart. That's basically the only storyline that these films truly have.
The one basic premise. The assholes go to the dinosaur island. Or go to the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Repeating endings as well. But maybe a few words about the characters still. Because I think the character build-up is a huge weak link in the sequels, in the Jurassic World trilogy. You have the legacy characters later on, but we never get like a deeper glimpse into these new characters or the fucking legacy characters in Dominion. They're kind of like 1.5 dimensional. We are not given a very good reason to like them very much. Bryce Dallas Howard, maybe not the best choice for one of your leads as far as I'm concerned. I think completely miscast in this movie, as well as Chris Pratt, or just the plain writing. I think it's really hard for the audience to build a connection with the characters. As I already said, Claire, she is more like a one-dimensional character in the beginning. They kind of keep Claire's comedic and ignorant side through and throughout, at least the first Jurassic World movie. We discussed how the film is kind of making her look bad as a female character in this day and age. Then Chris Pratt's character, it's like a quite simple alpha macho. Heels is the helpless woman in the jungle. I think that Bryce Dallas Howard just screams kind of a villainish quality throughout all of these 3 films. She just comes off as kind of a morally confusing, pointless character, because they don't beef up the characters.
So am I right to assume here that Jurassic World Dominion is the best Jurassic Park sequel ever made because it has less of Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, and you have the legacy characters here, like more than ever before.
Yeah.
The second half of the movie we follow the legacy characters. Yeah, and just every now and then we just jump in to check out whatever Owen huge cock and lady is doing.
Yeah, no, Henrik, unfortunately, like there's even though there's like a huge void between the quality of the legacy characters and the current characters. Even though we bring back these legacy characters, we are not given too much for them to do. There's not any kind of interesting plot developments going on with these characters. For example, Alan Grant, what the hell is his purpose in JW Dominion? He has nothing new to learn here. He's just kind of hanging around, helping Ellie Sattler.
Well, if you ask what's his point in Jurassic World Dominion, the point is quite simple. It's nostalgia bait.
It is.
Just plain and simply. And also perhaps close off the character arc that some people, which I've always refused to see in Jurassic Park, which would be the love or the relationship between Grant and Ellie. I always read that Grant and Ellie were just colleagues and they were not romantically involved, but then again, I've come to understand that that's like a minority opinion and perhaps a wrong reading of that film, and I'm the one being the idiot here. So in that sense, in Dominion, what happens, Grant finally closes that character arc. he and Ellie kiss at the very end of the film, which, if you believe in the rules of filmmaking, that there are certain ways how you should make a movie and tell a story, well, in that case, it's a home run. They only kiss at the end. There was no obstacle for these characters to actually kiss already at the beginning of Dominion, but that would be against the rules.
And that might tell you something about the structure of Dominion as a whole, because I had already forgotten that they even have that kiss in the film. Because there's so much going on and at the same time, not really anything at all.
Yeah, Dominion basically is just noise and nothing going on. But then again, that's this entire franchise.
It's more like the actor's natural charm that is to their advantage here, even if they don't have really anything to do here. That might actually be the biggest reason why they work pretty well in the movies. Even in the first one. Maybe it's not about the arc, but they are just kind of likable characters.
I don't know. I didn't give a shit about the legacy characters. I mean, my biggest thing with the whole character discussion is that, like, if we would take it from the point that the sequel sucked because of the new characters, well, in that case, like I said, I would present to you Jurassic Park Dominion, which has the returning legacy characters. To me, that frames the franchise. Like I already stated, Malcolm returned for Lost World, Garrett was there for the third film, and now you have even more characters from the first film. You have Dodson, that one asshole who shows up to give the aerosol can to Nedry. And then you also have Wu, who keeps repeating in all these films. I don't believe that there is actually any magic in the legacy characters. They may have good actors, yeah. Again, Chris Pratt manages to be a funny guy in movies. So I don't know if he's a bad actor. But I still don't actually feel any spark with the returning legacy characters. I didn't feel a spark in Lost World with Malcolm, really. I did feel it with Grant in Jurassic Park 3. And now I'm looking at him in Dominion. I'm like, no feeling at all. And these films, even like this, they, in true fan servicey, nostalgia-based fashion, they try to use these legacy characters as some type of passing of a torch. The Dominion has the whole passing of the torch moment, where the legacy characters acknowledge and congratulate the new characters. Owen Alpha Dick has read Grant's book, and Grant, I don't know, has once seen the duty roster of the original Jurassic World and knows that Owen is some kind of a dinosaur wrangler. And also Ellie and Bryce Dallas Howard has the similar moment where they're like, I read your research and something like that. And both of these moments come off as cringy as fuck.
Yeah, I agree. Kind of all the interactions between the new and the legacy characters, they feel kind of cringy as fuck, as you put it.
Yeah, but it's not just the interaction between legacy characters and the new characters. It's also basically everything that the legacy characters also do. Like, in its nostalgia-based nature, all the legacy characters here are gotta serve to you on this old-timey platter. You meet, in Dominion, you meet Grant at a dick where there's an obnoxious asshole kid. Just like in the first one. And Ellie shows up in Grant's tent like Hammond showed up in his trailer. And random items like the aerosol can that Nedry used in the original to steal the dino embryos, so that you can revel in its almost deified glory, because it's an item, or now more of a totem, from the original film. Dodson is a major character in Dominion, because he's the only character from the original that has yet not been brought back into the franchise, so that now the Dominion can be built up to be a monument for Dodson's awesomeness. In doing all of this, that the film, in my opinion, it's completely missing the aerosol can and Dodson's point from the original. The original Dodson and aerosol can are there to portray the folly of man trying to control the world and their attempts only to be buried in the mud because nature can't be controlled. And now Dominion comes up, it ducks up Dodson, it docks up the aerosol can, it shines them up to be kind of a testimonial witnesses to everything that has happened in the franchise at large. It tries to create this illusion that the franchise itself as a whole is about something. It carries over these age-old things from the original film to cap off the idea that, the franchise, every installment here, is part of some type of a mega story.
And that's kind of a problem because the characters, they come from so completely different worlds when you compare the Jurassic World with the Jurassic Park side of the world. And
I don't think they actually do. I do think that they come very much from the same world.
I don't feel that at all. It's kind of like Spider-Man Homecoming, but gone kind of haywire. Because every time the legacy characters, for example, Ellie in the train, she tells to the cloned kid who is not a cloned kid, retcon thing that, oh, I actually knew this character that is related to you somehow. And it's just cringe. I think it's because they are just from completely different worlds. Jurassic World is the kind of movies where everything is kind of more bigger and explosive. There's more action and more unbelievable escape situations. To give you some kind of a practical example here, in the Jurassic Park, the first one, you have the characters in the park, alone in the jungle, basically without any weapons, anything to really defend themselves against the dinosaurs. It's just their intelligence, the kind of 65 million years of brain evolution, the humans versus the creatures that are trying to eat them out in the park. And that's all. But in films like Jurassic World Dominion, you have some scenes where a Velociraptor is following a plane that is about to taxi off, and there's, motorcycle races and way more, but, you get the idea.
I actually am one of those people who defend the motorcycle chases in Dominion. I think that they are perhaps the most interesting part of the movie. My counterpoint to the legacy characters ever working here, or the problem being that there is two word clashing, would be that the legacy characters won't work on their own either. The Ellie does the same follow my finger Triceratops thing that he did in the first film, which is like, it's a quiet small moment in Dominion. And it's the same bloody thing that she did already. So you would think that if the problem is just like the clone kid and Ellie don't work together because they are from different worlds and different types of films, well, that scene should work. It doesn't. Even that moment is cringy. Even more cringy is that moment in Dominion when it tries to pass off its nostalgia baiting by having some type of a moment of acknowledgement about what it's doing. In the original film, Ian Malcolm's shirt, as we all remember, was 3 buttons open. So now in Dominion, he fumbles with his buttons only to be shut down by the female Han Solo. And the moment there in Dominion, him trying to open the legendary 3rd button, that's all meant to show the audiences that the film somehow acknowledges what it's doing and to lend it some legitimacy. That moment should kinda, I guess, if the problem would just be that the legacy characters and new characters are from different worlds, I guess that 3rd button should really do something. It should really pull your heartstrings and show you that, oh my god, we have a good old-timey legacy character here doing legacy shit. And that whole scene, like Ellie follow my finger moment also, is just pure cringe. So even when the legacy characters are doing legacy shit on their own in Dominion, even that doesn't work.
Yeah, that's because when you bring in legacy characters or whatever characters, don't just keep repeating the same moments, just try to invent something new, please. By the way,
but then repeating the same moment is the only thing that basically these films have done, more or less.
Yeah, good point. By the way, if you want to see a recreation of that Jeff Goldblum opening his shirt a bit, you just need to go to Ian Malcolm's Instagram page and you can see him recreating that moment there. But you were saying at one point in this discussion how Alan Grant was, or Sam Neill was kind of still something in the Jurassic Park Part 3. But then there are these other characters, for example, the Kirby family. I'd just like to go back to it once more because it's some horrible mistakes that I see that they are making with the characters there. The Kirby family, especially, I like to go back to the I like fishing scene, which is one of the most egregious examples of this. So one of the worst scenes in the entire franchise. And whenever this family, they open their mouth in this movie, we don't really emphasize as an audience towards them. I know I don't. It's because they are once again some one-dimensional idiots, our comic relief, and that's about all there is. And perhaps I would give a shit about his fishing stories if that would have been somehow built up from the beginning. Maybe in the beginning of the movie, the family would go fishing, all right. And by the end of this scene, then the kid says, okay, folks, I'm gonna head now further into the sea with these weirdos to do this life-threatening parasailing, so see you later on the Dino Island. If we talk about these kind of egregious characters, or who are supposed to be the people who are on the lead positions of this company, Hammond, he might be like selfish and blinded by his ambitions and all that, but at least he was a nuanced character. And then we have every Hammond knockoff that are just pure evil, extremely one-dimensional, except maybe for that discount John Hammond in Fallen Kingdom, that Benjamin...
I would say, like if somebody is an exception from that, it would be Tim Cook of Apple here in Dominion, who, yeah, still is pure evil, but at least he has that whole... We attempted something and it backfired, and I did not account into thing backfiring me when it comes to in relation to his locusts. If you take Tim Cook by his word, or Dodson, but Dodson basically what he is, much like the same way how I felt that Edward Norton in Glass Onion was a stand-in for Elon Musk and all these tech billionaires, I do feel that Dodson in Dominion is meant to be a stand-in for Tim Cook and Apple CEOs, including his not anything like Apple's ring-like headquarters in real life. But if you take Dodson by his word, in that case, the locusts were a kind of a, mistake, unintentional. And in that reading, you can kind of say that there's a moment when Dodson realizes the error of his ways when he torches the locust farm at the Apple headquarters. Yeah, and of course then immediately goes and tries to also destroy the hard drives. Like, if you want to take the character by his word, in that case, he wasn't all evil, he just fucked up and then decided to go all evil.
But maybe this is a good point to discuss how Dominion is all over the place a little bit more in detail. I argue that Trevorrow doesn't really... Well, in a way, in a box office sense, he does know why people go see dino movies, apparently. Even though the latest Dominion was an absolute train wreck when it came to the reviews. But I go to see dino movies because it's fun to go see dinos and see people eat and throw in some new moral lessons and philosophical discussions. And that's all. But in Fallen Kingdom, it trenches into these dinosaurs as military weapons. You have the human cloning, which turns out not to be a cloning. I don't know why they retconned that. Abductions. You have dino smuggling, because that was somehow important for Trevorrow. And we have this Machiavellian Tim Cook character and the low-costs world food shortage as the inciting incident. Not dinosaurs. The dinosaurs are just some kind of a background noise. But it's like the movie is trying to shoot you with everything that it's got, like everything at once. It's kind of trying to overwhelm the audience with the action. But when I want to go to the core of what I would like to see from these movies, it's about the kind of a primal struggle between humans and the predators. Predator and prey. And that's the spectacle. That's it. Leave it at that. Just fucking leave it at that.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been championing for the unused idea of Dino Man hybrid soldier thing. Basically, ever since I heard of it. And that's kind of what I feel that Dominion is attempting to doing. They bring the dinos as a weapon thing. The original Lost World already did this. It found the unused script idea and decided to go with the dinos as weapons. Point of view. In there it was that one Indian asshole who was like, oh, can you believe what these things would have done in Tora Bora? So it tries to play that card without going on with the human hybrid and giving them guns. And that's also what Fallen Kingdom was trying to do. Where it's, we've trained the Velociraptor to attack anything that we point with a laser pointer. Point of view that movie had. And now in Dominion, I feel that Trevor, everybody laughed at Fallen Kingdom and then asked that why don't you just use a gun instead of a laser pointer and a Velociraptor. And I guess now in Dominion, Trevor is trying to somehow prove to everybody, mostly I guess to himself, that his idea was not absolutely retarded in the first place. And tries to show that it somehow was legit. But I still do feel that, had the franchise actually followed the whole human hybrid army with firearms thing, then it could have actually been something interesting. Or if it would go into space in the next installment in this way too long franchise, then that perhaps could be interesting. Perhaps could finally find a new talking point out there in 65 million years in the future on the surface of Mars.
Right, that's what seems to happen with some of these franchises when they start to run out of ideas what to do on planet Earth.
But then again, this franchise ran out of ideas what to do on planet Earth in part 2 already.
It did, and I'm still a little bit surprised by that when you have such an interesting point and what you could do with the dinosaur characters. I think you could do a lot more. You just have to change the whole timeline, change the whole circumstances, start fresh, start anew. Whether it would be fucking space, but maybe just try to bring back the story to maybe 65 million years ago. Bring up some, again, idiotic idea about a time machine, or just some kind of circumstances 65 million years ago somehow. Try to make a story out of it. It's probably an idea that's not gonna work with the popcorn audience right out there, and that's the only problem.
I actually don't think that you can do jack shit with these rhinos.
Okay.
And that's been like my growing problem with Jurassic Park movies since Christ always. I'm just becoming more and more hostile with my approach to Jurassic Park as a franchise. Sequels have existed in Hollywood always. There's always been sequels. You remember when we did The Birth of a Nation?
Mm.
There was a sequel to it, The Fall of a Nation. The sequels are a really old thing in Hollywood, is what I'm aiming at. And for the longest time, sequels were a dirty word in Hollywood. If you ever watch like old Hollywood studio monster films, like the sequels were so notorious that Spielberg himself felt insulted when he was asked to direct Jaws 2. And with Empire Strikes Back and Godfather Part 2s, the sequel slowly became accepted. I asked why Spielberg accepted to direct Jurassic Park 2. And the reason for that was that after Coppola, after Empire, Spielberg himself started to regret his decision never to actually direct Jaws 2. So he started to make sequels. We started to see sequels more as a prestige thing. I feel that we have started to believe that simply because something is a franchise, the franchises would have an inherent merit, i.e., there would be a time in the lineup of movies when the franchise was good. And I feel that this is the sentiment that which we subconsciously and by implication uphold when we present questions like how did the franchise turn bad? And we can't ask these questions without implying that part of the franchises were really good. Like, if everything in the franchise would be dog shit, nothing would be ruined because you can't dog shit a dog shit. And that's where we are with Jurassic Park, in my opinion. It was never a good franchise. In my opinion, it never had a franchise potential. The first film is a masterpiece. I think it's a bloody gold standard. But all the sequels following the first one have been released with a diminishing artistic returns, including Spielberg's own Jurassic Park 2. And I do say this as someone who still champions for Jurassic Park 3, which I do believe is a better film than people give it credit to, but still is a extremely subpar movie when compared to the original Jurassic Park. And in my opinion, does not in any way actually prove to anyone that Jurassic Park as a franchise would have anything to go on with it.
I'm starting to hate more and more Jurassic Park 3. I think it's even a bigger void than The Lost World. There's fucking nothing going on in that movie. Fucking nothing.
Well, but there is nothing going on with Jurassic Park, the franchise.
Yeah.
Like, if we talk about, like, what is the main problem of Jurassic Park, I think it's in the title, Jurassic Park. It's the park, which makes it so that no film can ever actually leave the park. Trevor tries to somehow change it. He titles his movies Jurassic Worlds. But as we've seen, it's just like more park-like areas. Dominion is the first film where you can have the dinos actually interacting with the real world. And I'm not counting in the kaiju ending of Lost World here. That was bullshit. Trevor, at least, in Dominion, he lets the dinos to be part of the surrounding world, our world, the world outside of the park. It lasts for fucking 15 minutes, and it has no changes in how we humans actually act. We keep doing the same bullshit, going into drive-in movie theaters and releasing pigeons at our weddings. We act like the dinos wouldn't really be here. So that change, that opening is a meaningless.
Yeah.
There is no word in Jurassic World Dominion. It's just more parks. We go into a different park.
Yeah, I really want to go into this thought further, because Trevorrow, he kept saying that he's interested in exploring the coexistence of dinosaurs and humans and how that would look like. But then, as you said, there's the pteranodons eating a wedding pigeon, and that how the credit sequence of Battle at the Big Rock might be the kind of the biggest indication of, or an example of how that coexistence might go. Because otherwise there's not really anything intelligent, in my opinion, in that regard shown.
Yeah.
To go with that point, now the dinos are free, as you said. Now, are they free, or are they kind of location specific, location locked? Did anything change now that they are quote unquote free? Because this is a discussion point that we had in the previous episode, and we were whining on about how they are always going back to the fucking island. Now they're not on the island. What changed, in your opinion? Can you share anything on that?
In my opinion, nothing. Absolutely nothing. You mentioned Battle at Big Rock. It's a short movie that takes place in a park. And in Dominion, the dinos they are raging in Malta. But they show up in Malta after they escape from the weird underground smuggler hideout ring place. So they ain't really in Malta. They are accidentally in Malta because they managed to get loose. And that's it. And the second half of the movie is just a new park. This time it's just like in the original one, it's once again a park where you have to fly into. The first one, they have a helicopter ride. Now, Owen motorcycle guy flies with the female Han Solo into the park. The big difference, I guess, is that this time the park also is some type of a Noah's Ark. They can leave the Ark and venture into this new promised land where they can now be free. So basically, they are given a new park once again. So, in my opinion, nothing changed. At any point, the dinos did not change the world. The dinos never got free.
There's just a bunch of things happening throughout this movie, and by the end of the film, it's still the same thing. Like, what did we learn from all of this? Well, we still are trying to coexist with the dinosaurs. And that's where we leave that.
Yeah, but that coexistence in the first place, you are shown the pterodactyl eating the two birds at the wedding. And there is a quick mentioning that 63 people have died in a vehicular accidents involving dinos. Thousands of people die yearly in vehicular accidents, so it's not even 1%. So it wants to claim that we coexist with the dinos, but our coexistence is so little and so limited in Dominion that in my opinion, it does not count. We don't coexist with dinos.
And in a story sense, we have already tried to coexist with the fucking dinos. The only difference with the older movies is that there is a way out from the dino land. But essentially, like you said, kind of nothing changed. We are surrounded by dinos in all of the movies, and it's the same thing.
Yeah, it is. And in my opinion, it's like you have been asking what does the film say? What does Dominion say? What is the Dominion's message? In my opinion, it's basically the same message that we have had throughout the franchise. It's to harken back into this never worked as a franchise. The first full movie statement, the main major point was that life finds a way. And also that Malcolm presents the idea that there are unforeseen consequences to your actions. And because of that, you shouldn't act carelessly. But they are reproducing on their own. And in a Lost World, the main point, Hammond has a major statement. Life finds a way. Jurassic Park 3, it's once again Grant's turn to be like life finds a way. Okay, Jurassic World was nostalgia bait and how the first film was legit and an attempt at a meta point, but it didn't go far enough in my opinion. Fallen Kingdom was life finds a way because stupid clone kids are alive too. And here Dominion, it's life finds a way because virgin birth and because the dinos have found a way how to reproduce through virgin birth. So life finds a way. Almost every single movie is about life finding a way.
They're alive, just like me.
Yeah, which is like one of the stupidest endings that you can have for a movie. I really hated the kid there and thought that she should have been strangled. But because she's a franchise character here, she's being brought back again, and she makes stupid decisions and mistakes again. And basically the only father that we can get out of the clone kid, outside of her increasingly obnoxious British accent, would be that she works as a foil for Trevor's really weird. I don't know if it's moms or hatred for moms or just hatred for women in general. But that really spiteful mom fetish that Trevor has.
Yeah, we discussed that in the previous one as well. You were kind of touching on the moral questions, etc. of these films, and maybe we can expand on that to ask what are the questions, problems the movies pose. We already discussed it in a bit, but Jurassic Park, there's a couple of questions, but the overarching is that is Dinosaur Park a good idea? That's what it's exploring. Answer is no.
Yeah.
And then The Lost World kind of goes the same way. Is a dinosaur park on mainland a good idea? Answer still no.
Yeah, well, that's once again, that's the thing with this franchise. The whole bad guy idea always hinges upon the idea of nobody ever learning Hammond's lesson. With Hammond, you can be kind of forgiving. He was the pioneer. But like you pointed out, Lost World, asshole tries to open a park now on mainland,
Yeah.
and it goes tits up. Jurassic Park 3. Is it a good idea to go paragliding around a dinosaur park? Turns out no. Lost World. An asshole made a dinosaur park. It went tits up. Fallen
Yeah.
Kingdom. Let's bring dinos to the mainland and something about weapon tech. It went tits up. And now Dominion. Should we have a Apple headquarters where we have dinosaurs? Turns out no.
Yeah, something like that, like Jurassic Park 3. In my opinion, the film is not asking anything at all, except for the paragliding, of course. Or maybe, should the dinosaurs eat the Kirby family? And the answer is yes. But beyond that, Jurassic World, it's essentially the same thing. Is a dinosaur park a good idea? Yeah, still answer is no. And Jurassic World 2, hey, I guess there's something there. Like, should we save endangered species or should we just let them die? And answer is let them die.
Well, it's kind of like Dominion. At the end of the day, it tries to argue that no, you should let them live because they can coexist with us and our existence,
Just like me.
and with our species. As we have seen, coexistence is possible, but it's not easy. And in here, at the end of the day, we have Dominion stating that Triceratopses can walk with the elephants, and horses can run with those other dinos. So the peaceful coexistence is entirely possible, and there is no harm, no effect whatsoever at the ecosystem at large. This is once again a good reminder, a good point. Why, even though Hammond in the first film was a damn as fucking pile of rocks, the dude who spares no expense when it comes to having 150 different flavors of ice cream, but when it comes to actually, having security measures for your goddamn T-Rexes and Velociraptors, well, that's where you can just underpay one fat guy to do all the work. Like, granted, yeah, Hammond was never a smart guy. He was an idiot with too much money at his hands. But even he was smart enough to know that you have to keep your clone dinos at a closed area, be that a park, where if they cause an eco catastrophe, it's going to be limited into that one island. But that's kind of, in my opinion, like if we have been talking about Dominion's points and the franchise's points
Mm-hmm.
to tackle on with to ask if Dominion has an identity, because an individual movie should have an identity. Dominion's identity is in it being a true franchise film. Like any true franchise movie, Dominion's identity in its act of borrowing borrows elements from previous Jurassic Park and Jurassic World films, and its soul also from the other Jurassic films, and also other notable franchises. It fills itself with the Malta sequence when it turns into Mission Impossible movie all of a sudden. And then you have the Jason Bourne-esque jumping from rooftop through a balcony, borrows from Star Wars. Red Letter Media made a good video where they actually compared shots from the original Star Wars trilogy and Dominion, and came into a conclusion that the female Han Solo is precisely female Han Solo, and taken at times almost shot for shot from Star Wars. Dominion borrows from Taken. Here so many goddamn things get taken that you lose the track.
Yeah.
Owen Alpha Beast runs from moment to moment to see things being taken. There was so much taken here that I'm still confused. I keep somehow having a memory that Liam Neeson shows up in the film to have a bloody cell phone scene, but it borrows from Fast and Furious. It borrows from individual movies like Source Code. in all of this action, it in my opinion it tries to create kind of a barter economy with the audience. It offers you dinos, so you let it run free with the spirit taken from other movies. In the same way how Dominion tries to sell you the idea that the Gigantosaurus and the T-Rex has this epic rivalry that spans over 65 million years. The director's cut, the extended cut, whatever you wanna call it, opens up with this full CGI opening about prehistoric times where the Gigantosaurus and T-Rex fight. It's completely pointless, but it's there to set up the idea that these beasts fought 65 million years ago, and then they have the conclusion match at the end of the film. So it much like it tries to sell you that these two dinosaurs has the rivalry. The film tries to sell you the idea that the franchise has a place in the grandiose tale that spans over decades and includes all the Jurassic movies.
Yeah,
I kind of feel that they both are kind of hollow claims.
yeah, that makes sense. That there is similarities to Star Wars because Colin Trevorrow was famously supposed to direct The Last Jedi.
Yeah, unfortunately, he directed Book of Henry first and made the whole studio panic, and he got kicked out of the Star Wars project.
All right, quickie section. The performance pedestal, or who would you recommend or not recommend as an actor in the film? Raise and praise or barbecue one actor. Go ahead.
I would sum up three returning legacy characters as one character who plays confused old guy. Doesn't know what the hell is going on, why the hell he is here.
Yeah, I kind of get that feeling from those performances sometimes. But I guess Sam Neill, Alan Grant, or Jeff Goldblum, Ian Malcolm. Those are kind of the anchors of these movies for me, even when the movies are terrible. Just look at Jurassic Park 3, you know. If you're looking for anything there, then there's the Dinosaur Man. What worked, Henrik?
In my opinion, nothing.
Yeah. What worked was that I made the right decision not to go watch this film in theaters. I never had an intention to do so.
Amen.
Yeah.
Money well saved.
Oh, God. Well, some of those dinos looked cool, I guess, but what didn't work?
The idea of Jurassic Park as a franchise does not work. To once again harken back into stuff or taken from the first film in order to sell you the idea that there's a legitimacy with the film. Grant shows up at the dig site and has a speech how the Stones have a voice and it means nothing. Ian Malcolm gets a standing ovation for a TED talk in which he says nothing except unforeseen consequences, which is his message from the first film. Given the director says, what would I change, if anything? I would change the attempt to actually have a franchise in the first place. What's remarkable in Dominion is exactly how little it says. And that's the problem of the franchise also. Like Dominion, this franchise, it conveys you the idea. It alludes into a lot of things. But it never makes a statement.
Yeah.
And if I would change something, perhaps that, I would force a movie to actually finally have a statement. The first one has statements. It has discussions. It has thoughts. And none of the sequels have that.
Yeah, absolutely. Amen. What really didn't work was kind of like you said it, like a clear direction. What are we waiting for? Where are we going here? What are the questions? What is the philosophy? What are the moral questions? What do you want to solve? What are the character arcs? What are the purposes of different characters in this film? What are we doing with the dinos? What is our focus? Where are we going? That's what I'm asking here. And no answers. It's the same situation as in the beginning of the film. We're trying to learn to live with the dinosaurs. We don't really get even good examples of how to get along with the dinosaurs, even though I thought that was the kind of the point of the film, but whatevers. Hand. That was something that didn't work. Like trying to put off the dinosaurs with the magic of your hand. I was just waiting for that moment, like, oh god. Actually, when I started watching Jurassic World Dominion, I was specifically wishing that we would not see the hand stuff anymore in this film.
It kind of made sense in the first film when he had been training those specific dinos from birth. And you could kind of say that that's his dino wrangling style. That's something that he teaches them ever since they are newborns. But
Yeah.
now in Dominion, it's a magic trick that just works on all the dinos all the time, and everybody else can do it. I'm like really, I hope I will never actually see another film where there's that hand stuff.
Yeah. It was like in less than 5 minutes, I believe, at least in the theatrical version of this film, where Chris Pratt starts already with the hand thing when apparently he's some kind of a animal wrangler trying to... I think this movie doesn't even explain what the hell he's doing with the animals in the beginning moments of the film. So I'm looking at this guy and I think he's just doing some stupid sports with the animals. It begins like some kind of a Western film, like trying to control these animals, and I don't know what the hell he's doing, but apparently he is trying to move, kind of migrating the animals.
Yeah, into an undisclosed location, so that you can't actually figure it out if it actually works or if his plan is just dumb as shit.
Yeah, dinosaurs that are big as like 3-story buildings, and apparently he's going to somehow move them for thousands of miles somewhere else, I suppose.
Yeah, into this secret, anonymous location where they most definitely are protected and there's food and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, this film would have been actually exciting if it would have taken some serious risks. Like finally, Blue eating the hand of Chris Pratt in this film. Or Bryce Dallas Howard getting killed by this, what's this venom-spitting dinosaur. I think that would have given some edge for this film.
But then again, you do have Blue in slow-mo dodging bullets.
Describe the film in one word.
Pointless.
Shit.
Absolutely pointless.
Shit. Will this film survive the test of time? I hope not.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
Complete the sentence. You really know you're watching Jurassic World Dominion or the franchise when...
I'm already actually starting to forget what happens in the film.
Yeah,
I saw it yesterday.
Yeah.
I already kind of like, what happened?
Yeah,
you know it when it leaves your near memory in T-1 day.
Yeah, well, you really know you're watching Jurassic World Dominion when you stood on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something as fast as you could, and before you even knew what you had patented it and packaged it and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now, bam, you're selling it. Sell it. That's Dominion for you.
Well put.
Did you like the film?
No.
Fuck no. I need an English bath after this. Would you rewatch this film?
No. I'm actually dreading the chance to ever actually watching Dominion again.
Yeah, no. Would you recommend the film?
Well, I've been cursing the Dominion's nostalgia-based nature. I've been cursing how the entire franchise here. I started in the previous episode that we did about Jurassic Parks. And like I said, I'm growing just more and more tired, just more and more venomous with my approach to the Jurassic Park as a franchise. The true irony, like this Jurassic Park Dominion, it has that NBC Olympic spot marketing short video, which you can see in YouTube. I don't know if you checked it out, but has like bunch of athletes doing some sport shit, and then the dinos appear and they just look at the dinos and dinos look at the athletes, and Jesus Christ. But in my opinion, actually, the NBC Olympic spot is the true metaphor for Jurassic World Dominion. It tries to give you this impression of human excellency, to make you be awestruck by the skill and the determination of the athletes. Just like Dominion tries to sell you an impression of being a good movie, and for you to be awestruck by Trevor's skill and vision as a filmmaker. The problem with the NPC spot is that the green screen is so fake and the CGI is so bad that you just feel embarrassed watching it when you see the fakeness of it all in the NPC spot. And all Dominion manages to do is make you feel embarrassed as it proves you how it's a fake movie from a bad director. So no recommendation. In fact, no recommendation for this franchise.
Yeah.
Go ahead and check the first Jurassic Park. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, watch the first one. If you're looking for some kind of more advanced effects with the Spielberg quality, then okay, check out Lost World.
Watch E.T.
Watch E.T. Put the films in order of preference for the final time.
I don't remember what my list of preference was last time. And I don't really remember the previous installments that well because I haven't actually rewatched them since our last episode. But to go from a recollection, well, the first one obviously, then the third one. I guess Lost World, maybe Jurassic World, followed by Fallen Kingdom and Dominion as the last one. Fallen Kingdom at least had a fun, spooky mansion dino crisis. Horror movie villain something velociraptor thing going on in it. I liked that.
Yeah, I'm on a similar list. Something like first Jurassic Park and then Lost World and actually let's just put Jurassic World here and then Jurassic Park 3 and then Fallen Kingdom and as the last one, the Dominion.
Well, that was a miserable experience with a miserable franchise.
Yeah, I think we have beaten the dead horse enough here.
Yeah, but don't worry, dear listener. I'm certain that like the rich assholes in Jurassic Park, the rich assholes at helm of Hollywood studios fail to learn anything, and they most definitely are not ready to quit beating this dead horse. So I guess there will be a Jurassic Park sequel at some point. I already vomit in my mouth thinking about the possibilities.
Yeah. We don't have to. This is the third episode about Jurassic Park, and there was barely enough material for 2 episodes. So
yeah, this is where I draw the line. Last time, I if memory serves me correct, I did state that I will see Dominion out of obligation towards the lab. But this is where I draw the line.
Yeah,
I refuse to watch the next Jurassic Park sequel whenever it comes out.
Yup. This is it. I'm happy that we did this kind of an episode that kind of still goes through the entire franchise, and we have this kind of a different discussion, just putting out the question of what happened here. And I thought it was still interesting to coalesce everything. But dear listener, would you somehow recommend Jurassic World Dominion or any of the sequels? Well, let us know in our...
And more specifically, why would you recommend Dominion?
Yeah, let us know if you dare. If you think this content was valuable to you, you can rate us on Apple Podcasts or just share this episode with a friend of yours who might also be interested in this similar kind of a material. In the next episode, shall we go and visit some Tom Cruise? Mission Impossible 1, 2, 3.
Well, why not, seeing how we have already checked out Mission Impossible with dinos?
And why 1, 2, 3? Because we believe there might be the most going on in the beginning of the franchise here. Like how it all started, how it went, as the popular opinion at least goes, awry.
How the right opinion goes there.
How the franchise went awry according to Henrik, and we can have a discussion on that because we have some differing opinions apparently. And then how...
Apparently somebody has wrong opinions.
And then how it became the product that it essentially is today from the part 3 onwards.
Product being the magic word.
Yeah. Dear listener, thank you for joining us. It was very, very kind of you to tune in. See you in your nightmares.
Until then.
Bam, you're selling it. Sell it.